Hello and welcome back to The Living Jesus. Peace be upon you, angels of God. It's so nice to be back with you today. My name is Tiffany and this is my lovely co-host Saiha. How are you today, Saiha?
I'm doing really very, very well. Thank you so much. I can't wait for our next conversation.
Yeah, today is going to be an interesting conversation, God willing. We wanted to pose an interesting question to the people, and we want to sort of go through this topic together and discover what's the reality of it. And that is there such a thing as free will? Does free will exist, or is everything predestined?
Well, I think that this is a very big question, especially in arguments between, for example, Christians and atheists, right? I think this is something that the atheist always brings up, right? So if God is all-knowing, then that means the free will doesn't exist, right? And if free will exists, then how come there's suffering in the world, you know? So let's dive into it, okay? So let's look at the Bible, of course. We will look at some verses of the Bible to kind of dive into this topic and see if we can find clues in the Bible, right? But more importantly, we also would like to include in our conversation today some biblical Gnostic scriptures, right? Because not everything that's true, and not every single piece of information, that we need is included in the Bible canon, as we already covered.
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone who's familiar with us and familiar with our program, and especially familiar with our channel, would be aware of the fact that we like to take a look at everything. So we don't shy away from any scripture. We put everything on the table, and we don't necessarily believe that everything is absolute truth, but we believe that truth has existed in many different scriptures, and so we like to take a look at everything with a critical eye.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think today's conversation will go into many of these things, and actually the basis of our discussion is an episode that Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, released. So we should just mention that and encourage everybody to check it out. You can find it on the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel. It's called How Baby Jesus Met His Disciples, and it's a very fascinating episode, and highly recommend that everybody checks it out for more information on this topic.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that the Christians are so obsessed and in love with Jesus, in their parents, but there are actually there's actually these writings that are attributed to the life of Jesus prior to his ministry, right? And outside of the four canonical gospels that were written much later on, right? So I really think that this episode was very eye-opening, because we got
new information.
Yeah, we got to dive in to the life of Jesus when he was, a young boy or like a baby, some things. I mean, we're not necessarily saying that the accounts are completely 100% true, but we're also, it's also nice to have those kind of accounts.
Yeah, definitely. And specifically, we're going to go into what is called the Infancy Gospels of Jesus's life. And there are a few different infancy Gospels that exist, and they're really interesting in the sense that you find some of the stories in these gospels in the Quran, but these gospels and these stories are not in the biblical canon. So one famous example is the story where Jesus creates birds out of clay and he breathes life into them. This is something that you find in different infancy gospels, sort of repeated in different infancy gospels, but you don't find it in the biblical canon, but you do find it in the Quran. So obviously, like he mentions this in the episode, it's almost like a stamp of affirmation on some of the content that is in these specific gospels about the childhood of Jesus, because they have stories that Prophet Muhammad has affirmed as being true. So we have to understand that there is some truth in them. So that's why they're actually really important to go back and take a look at.
Well, look, as far as predestination goes, I think that there is a lot of clues in the Bible that would say that, yes, because God is all-knowing, there is such thing to a certain extent as predestination, but we're also told that there is also such thing as free will. So we want to see, is this a biblical idea, or is it completely 100% predestination, right? So, I mean, before we can dive into the infancy gospels, we can go look into some verses of the canon Bible, right? Like, for example, in Jeremiah chapter 1:5, when God is speaking to Jeremiah, when he appointed him, he says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. So now we see this like predestination. Now, like, you would look at this verse and you're like, oh, everything is predestined.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he created him for that.
Before he was even formed in the womb. I mean, that means that this was a plan from long ago. This was basically like written in the book, right? This was written in his destiny, that he was going to... There would be a prophet named Jeremiah, and he would be formed, and he would go on to lead the people and guide the people. So it definitely points to the idea that everything is predestined. But then we also have many other verses that indicate the opposite, that indicate that there's a change, you know, that there is some aspect of free will, and that the people's actions, you know, they play into the outcome of the events.
That's true. That's in like Matthew 23, right? Verse 37, where it says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Okay, so here we have like God wants to do something, but because of the unwillingness of the people of Jerusalem, he's not able to do that.
So he's attempting, you know, and then the plans are changing. This indicates that there is some aspect of free will at play here.
Exactly. And we also have stories of like how, you know, especially in the Goal of the Wise, you know, it was mentioned that the majority of the messengers were almost erased from the book of messengers. And you would, you know, and I think that this also like paints the picture for us a little bit better, that they were chosen by God to be messengers. They were God chose for them a position, but because of their free will, they almost got erased because of their free will.
Because of their free will and the mistakes that they made. And yes, in the Goal of the Wise, we find, you know, sort of many different accounts of the different mistakes that they had made. And yes, this statement that all of the messengers had almost been erased at some point in history. And that's, I mean, that's mind-blowing.
I mean, it's probably because of the, you know, because there are actually a lot of accounts, you know, a lot of words from God, like a lot of poetry, you know, from the books of the prophets, where God, you know, is angry with his people. And it's not always about like people that are disbelievers. A lot of times he's always angry about people who he chose because of their disbelief and because of the choices that they always made. So he chose them as a nation. He chose Israel as a nation. He already chose them before time began, like with Jeremiah. But because of their disobedience and always willful sin, you know, they were basically wiped off, and then God chose a different people, right?
So I mean, we have
he gave them many chances.
Exactly. I mean, you're speaking about the Israelites specifically, right? How they were replaced by another, you know, people. The covenant was then given to another people. I mean, we have throughout the scriptures, we have many different examples of change occurring based on the actions of the people. But it makes it all the more confusing, because then you get to the end of the Bible, right? The end of the Christian Bible, and you get to the book of Revelation, and we have the stories of the 144,000 who appear, and they seem to be like special, right? They seem to be like chosen. And it's even mentioned that their names are written in the book of life, or that there are these multitudes whose names are written in the book of life. And we have a verse that states that anyone whose name was not found in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. So it almost makes it seem as though the 144,000, they're like, it's written for them, you know, like somehow, somehow they are special, and they're like pre-chosen, and it doesn't, you know, we're not really sure how to make sense of this narrative. Like, is it predestination, or is it free will? Like,
exactly. And also it reminds me of you know, in the Gospels, when Jesus gives certain powers to the disciples, and they go and they cast out demons and heal in the name of Jesus, and perform a lot of miracles, and then they come back, they're so happy, and he says, don't be happy that you can do these things, but be happy that your name is written in the book of life. But you know, like as we know, the Day of Judgment didn't happen for them at that time.
Yes.
So they were in the future. Were going to, their names were going to be written. Yeah. So it's like there's this. It's a little bit confusing, right? Like how is it that you can have predestination, but also free will at the same time? You know, it is something that's confusing the people, and it's always been. I feel like
it's a debated topic.
Yes, exactly, and they can never agree to that, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to the infancy gospels and see some stories that are in there about certain events that happened in the life of Jesus when he was just born, right?
Yeah.
And then see if we can find like some clues, right, in that.
Yeah, sure. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the book that we're specifically taking a look at today is the first gospel of the infancy of Jesus Christ. And as we mentioned, it has this story about the birds of clay that's mentioned in the Quran. And it has many, many different stories about Jesus when he is in his youth. But we're just going to mention and highlight a specific few. So there's a story of a boy who was bitten by a snake. But before we dive into that, I think that we have a caller. So let's first take that call.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, everyone.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Hope you're also good.
Yes, we're good.
I just saw a video of you when somebody expressed the Shahada, which wasn't familiar to me because I'm a Muslim, and the Shahada is typically Allah and Muhammad, includes both of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, what was this about? Who are you?
Oh, you mean you saw somebody pledging allegiance to our faith, right? That you saw somebody saying the Shahada of our religion?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean by our faith? Are you considered Muslim, or is there...
I mean,
else?
we consider ourselves to be the true Muslims in that we are the ones who have pledged our allegiance and submitted to the Imam of our time. But yes, I mean, we believe in the Prophet Muhammad. We believe in all of the prophets and the messengers. We are the Ahmadi religion of peace and light. So there's a lot to know about our belief system. If you want to check out the video on the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel called Who Are We? It might give you more complete information than I would be able to give you in this phone call. But yes, we believe that we are the inheritors of the one true religion that has existed since the time of Adam until the present day. We believe that Sorry, excuse me?
No, so you are Ahmadiyya, basically?
No, not Ahmadiyya. We are the Ahmadi religion of peace and light. We are not affiliated with the Ahmadiyya religion.
Okay. But...
okay. So we believe that the Mahdi has appeared and we are his followers.
But what makes you believe that the Mahdi is even... You know what I mean? Even in Islam, these hadith that are talking about the Mahdi are completely not sahih. So
we don't believe in the science of man, first of all, because it's a science that wasn't given by any messenger of God. It's something that is an innovation, something that was invented after the Prophet Muhammad. The Ahlul Bayt never said that there should be such a thing as the science of man, so we don't follow it. So this grading of hadith as weak or strong, I mean, it's something that's based on like sort of a wrong basis. It's not a true concept.
So, but you are basing the Mahdi, based on the hadith. Am I understanding right?
Excuse me?
No, look, the hadiths, they do talk about the Mahdi, but the narrations, they're not extremely clear on like exactly. You can't like open up a book of narrations and it will tell you from A to Z exactly what's going to happen with the Mahdi, who he is, what's his name, what he's going to look. I mean, there's a lot of different narrations, yes, about the Mahdi, but of course they are all pointing to the signs and the facts of what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, saw in the future, right? So the thing is that the actual event of the Mahdi appearing is unfolding, and you can use the narrations as basically proofs and clues to recognizing that it is actually the Mahdi. But the narrations, they're vague, a lot of them. There are some very specific ones, but the majority of them are vague, and it's really difficult to understand unless you see him coming in the flesh, and then you look at him, you find out if he's true, you ask Allah about him, you do istikhara, etc.
So the Quran states that it's obligatory to write a will. And we know that Prophet Muhammad, he wrote a will, and we have the narration where he named his successors. And about this will, he said it's a protection against misguidance, and if you hold on to it, you'll never go astray. And in it, he named his successors from Imam Ali until the present day. And it names Abdullah Hashem, Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, the Imam who is speaking today, the second Mahdi. And so we know to follow him based on the will of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes.
Are you there, brother? Are you still with us?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. You just described that the hadith cannot be specific and, name events, what's going to happen when, and so on.
It does name some specific things.
I just said not all of them are specific.
Yeah, but right now you just mentioned the hadith that mentioned, I don't know, the 12th Imam, or was it this hadith?
Yeah, so in the Quran it said that it is obligatory to leave a will, right? To write a will. It's an obligation upon the believers. And the Prophet Muhammad also wrote a will. There are many narrations that talk about his intent to write a will, and we also have the narrations that state what he wrote.
So, do I understand right? The Mahdi is here. Is it the gentleman with the hat?
Yes. Al-Sadiq.
Okay.
Al-Sadiq Abdullah Hashem, and his name, Abdullah, is mentioned in the will of the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay, and who are his parents? You know what I mean? Who is he?
Yeah. Well, look, brother, we are currently on a television program, okay? You are live on TV, and we do have a topic that we need to stick to. But like we said, please check out the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel. It has, a lot of videos, and one of them says, who are we? And it actually explains exactly who we are, what we stand for, what do we believe, and a lot of the videos actually explain it. So please check out the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel, and you can also reach out to the email that's in the description. But yeah, I think as far as, us explaining the entire faith to you at the moment, it's not possible.
Time. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. But just one last question.
Yes.
The hadith which talks about that Mahdi cannot be killed by two things, do you know about it? Do you accept it?
I think that we're getting into specifics. I suggest that you first go and research. I suggest that you first go and research what it is that we believe. And then if you want to call back later, once you're a little bit more familiar with who Al-Sadiq Abdullah Hashem is and what it is that he is preaching and telling the people and calling towards, once you have sort of a basic understanding of that, I think that then you can call back in and we can have a more detailed conversation.
Yeah, I see. But if he would accept this challenge of these two things that he cannot be killed, I think you're going to gain a lot of followers. But have a nice evening all. Wish you a good day.
Thank you very much for calling in. God bless you.
Bye.
God bless you. Great.
Yeah,
Assalamu alaikum.
Jump back in. Yes, assalamu alaikum, brother. Peace be with you.
I mean, they're fair questions. He was very polite. God bless him. Very good morals and manners. Okay, so let's go back to the infancy gospel of Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yes.
So the story, I mean, the infancy gospel, it starts off like the general, information about this specific gospel is that it tells the story of what happened after Mother Mary, Lady Mary had Jesus, right?
Yes.
And then as they are traveling, right, running from King Herod and they're traveling to Egypt, they're stopping at different places, and as Jesus is already divine, as he's a baby, he's able to speak in his cradle, and he's also able to perform miracles already while he's already in an infant.
Yes.
And one of those is healing. He has natural healing power of just anybody just like being with him or being touched by him, or if he just wills it, he can make anything happen.
Yes.
So this is one of the stories of one of his healing journeys with one of the children. Do you want to continue reading it?
Are you talking about the story where he is an infant first?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So
no, I mean we can go to the first one.
I was in the first one that was talking about the snake bite before we took the phone call.
Yeah.
So I was telling this story. There was a boy who was bitten by a snake. He had reached his hand inside of a bird's nest, and he was bitten by a poisonous snake, and he became sick. And Jesus, he performed a miracle. He went back to the nest and he made the snake to extract the venom out of the wound of the boy, and the boy was then healed. And then he put a curse on the snake, and the snake explodes and it dies. So yeah, I mean, this is a beautiful miracle. But the coolest part about the story is that then it's revealed that the story is actually happening. The child who was bitten by the snake actually goes on to become one of his disciples, and that is Simon the Canaanite, or sometimes referred to as Simon the Zealot.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. So there's so much information in this gospel, you know. I mean, you know, he's a baby and then he's a child and then he's performing these deeds. And now we find out that actually when he was a child, he met one of his disciples already and actually helped him and healed him from a snake bite.
Yes.
Which is super interesting. Okay. So, okay, we have another caller. Hello, how are you?
Well, hello there.
Hello.
Paul, you guys say Paul is false?
Yes.
Yes.
So I assume everything he stands for and everything he said is pretty much blasphemy?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. A lot of false teachers, they manage to mix the truth and falsehood together. So some of what he said could be true and some of it is absolutely false.
Well, to be fair, just by corrupting the word a little bit is corrupting it, the whole thing, right?
I mean, that would make him a wolf in sheep's clothing. But the thing is, he was able to, appear as a believer.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look, every single falsehood, it needs a little bit of truth in order to stand, you know. You can twist the truth or you can say one true fact, but then you can cover it with a lot of falsehood. And basically, this is what Paul did. He did say some things that were correct, but the majority of what he said was blasphemy, and he did it on purpose. We believe that he was doing it in order to destroy the Christian faith and
from within,
all of
yes.
from within, because he was actively pursuing and chasing down and murdering the followers of Jesus, and he was appointed by the high priest to do it and to throw them in jail and do such things. But then he decided, you know what, I can work better if I go on the inside and pretend like I'm one of them, which is the definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. So then he advised them, don't get married, be celibate, so that he can kill off basically the bloodline of the Christians. And then he told them, don't follow the law, don't circumcise.
That's a very important one, because
exactly.
I mean, he really radically changed the religion without this coming from the mouth of Jesus.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about A.J. Miller?
I'm not familiar with A.J. Miller.
Who's that?
He's the quote-unquote new cultist who's claiming to be Jesus Christ himself.
Well, Jesus already claimed to be Jesus. So once a person claims to be the person, how did Jesus claim to be who he was? He read the scroll of Isaiah, right? He talked about, Isaiah had written about the Messiah. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And this is what Jesus claimed, right? He went into the temple and he read this verse from Isaiah 61, and he claimed to be that figure who was written about. So Jesus already claimed to be the Messiah. So nobody can now come along and claim to be the Messiah. That is a role that has already been fulfilled and already been claimed.
Yeah, because he said that he came down in a cloud already, and then he's got a compound. He's got everybody dressing like him and selling their houses to fund his, he calls it a sanctuary, not a compound. But everybody lives over there. Nobody's allowed to use their phones on the compound unless in certain offices. They have like certain blood rituals. He can arrange marriages.
And you know this, and you know this firsthand. Like you actually went and actually spoke with them and verified this information before you spread it around on the internet.
It's all over. It's all over the place.
Okay, so it's just rumors. Okay,
So
well, we don't take rumors, brother. We take, actual factual information about people. Even if even if we don't agree with them, we still don't slander them on TV. And let me remind you, please, that you are on live television right now.
Right. Well, there's testimonies of their loved ones that divorced their husbands and wives to be with this so-called Jesus.
I mean, we have no affiliation with this group, so I don't think that it's necessary to go into their belief system. But if you have any other questions about our belief system, we'd be happy to answer them.
What I'm trying to ask is, how do you identify a false religion with the true one?
That's a great question. So we believe that there's this chain of successorship, right? There's an unbroken chain from the beginning of mankind, from the time of Adam until the present day. And Jesus was certainly part of that chain of succession. And he was appointed by his predecessor, John the Baptist. He was baptized by him. And he was written about in the scriptures, and he was written about by Isaiah. And he claimed to be that figure written about by Isaiah. So he proved that he was testified about by those who came before him. And in John chapter 5, he actually said, if a person testifies about themselves, know that their testimony is false. So he said that this is the system that exists, and this is how it has to always be. So we believe that any true messenger from God is appointed by their predecessors, or written in a written will and testament by their predecessors, meaning the prophets and the messengers who came before them. So the man who we follow, Abdullah Hashem Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, his name is written in the will of the Prophet Muhammad. So there was a true chain of successors that went from the successor of Jesus, who was Simon Peter, till the Prophet Muhammad. And then the Prophet Muhammad wrote his successors in a will. And we have that will and document, and in it is the name of the man who we follow today. So that's how you identify a true messenger from God. He will always be able to prove that he was divinely appointed by this chain of successorship that we just discussed. He will display divine knowledge, and he will call to the supremacy of God, or the rulership of God. These are the three things that always gather in a true messenger from God, and a true messenger has to fulfill all three of these things.
So I'm kind of new to this, so I kind of just been looking at a whole bunch of new religions that are popping up, and I was told by a certain video that you guys actually sell your houses to and give all the money to that sanctuary or congregation, or whatever it is, whatever word you're using for the compound.
I think you would really find this video interesting. So before we answer that, I just want to recommend to you, on the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel, you'll find AROPL, Cult Accusations, and the Fight for Religious Freedom. And it's a very interesting video about the topic of new religious movements and so-called cults, with a professor named Holly Folk. And it's very, very interesting. And I think that you would find it quite fascinating, given the types of questions that you're asking. But yeah, so many people...
Yeah. Well, look, brother, I would investigate for sure first. I wouldn't look at rumors and slanderous remarks on the internet, because to be honest with you, I mean, I think that you know very well that whenever a group of people doesn't like another group of people, they automatically call them a cult and say a lot of derogatory things about them because they don't really like them. So anybody who, you know, makes such like accusations against other people that they don't know very well, I wouldn't really take that person as your source of information. I would always go back to the actual person that you're trying to get to know, and actually look to them for the information about them. And we are very open about what we believe. You know, we make a lot of videos. We're always on TikTok live. We make live television shows every day. We have a website with a wiki page where all of our beliefs are outlined. We have a book that outlines all of our beliefs. We have a, you know, Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel where we constantly talk about what we believe. You know, cults, they have certain characteristics that we just don't fit, you know. So the thing is that if you are actually willing to get to know us for who we are, as opposed to looking at what other people are saying about us, I think this is the best course of action for a person who is well educated and just a pure person.
Right, but if a person who had no idea which group to follow, you guys or the other guys, and I'm just going to say new religions, I'm assuming you don't like the word cult, I don't know. Are you guys doing what he's doing? You have to sell all your possessions to fund the compound, and you have to pretty much live over there, and you have to kind of like separate yourself a little bit from your family.
Nobody has to do anything. Everybody
an accurate description of our community.
Yeah, nobody has to do anything.
I suggest that you do a little bit of research into what it is that we believe and what it is that we call towards. But what differentiates us between all other religions in the world is that we follow the chain of successors that has existed from Adam until the present day. We believe that only a person who is appointed by God can call the people, to God. So we don't follow these self-appointed people like you find in the world creating religions. This is not what this is. We follow the man who was appointed by God. So that's what differentiates us from the others.
So who you say God appointed that guy to be the Mahdi?
Yes.
Who was the witness to that?
I explained to you. He was mentioned in the will of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes.
His name is written in the will of Prophet Muhammad.
And he was appointed by his predecessor,
name?
who is Ahmad al-Hassan. And Ahmad al-Hassan, from him is peace, he was appointed by Imam Mahdi. So they didn't just come out and say, I had a dream, or I heard a voice, or I just saw this in the hadith, and now I am that person. He was actually appointed by his predecessor, and he didn't know who he was. He was a faithful follower of Imam Mahdi, and he was looking for Imam Mahdi all his life. He was really interested in investigation. He stood for the truth, for justice, and he was always fighting for those things, and he believed in God wholeheartedly, and he tried to find Imam Mahdi because he believed in the prophecies that were getting fulfilled. And then he met Ahmad al-Hassan, and he was told by him and was made to know who he is, and then he was commanded by Imam Mahdi to go and proclaim himself as the Mahdi. So he didn't come up with the idea on his own, and he certainly is, he is not forcing us to do anything. Nobody has to do anything in our movement. Everybody that is here, myself and Tiffany and anybody else that you see following this religion, they are here completely from their own self. And everything that we give or we don't give to the call is our own choosing, and this is not something that we have to do or that we're forced to do.
Right, you choose to do.
Right.
Choose to do,
I mean,
yes.
we choose to do all that we do.
Right. And how was the Mahdi supposed to arrive?
Okay. Well, look, brother, I feel like you have a lot of questions, which is really great. I would suggest that you check out the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel to find out more answers, please. But we do have a show going right now, and we're speaking about Jesus and predestination and free will, if you have any questions about that.
Well, I'm from where? Sucker nigga boy from where?
Excuse me?
Nigga from the well. The session is over.
Excuse me? Are you still there, brother? Okay. Yeah. So I guess we just jump right back in. And so there's another story of a snake bite with another child. Although the story is a little bit different this time. It's not involving a bird's nest this time, but it is another interesting story. So we can read the verse out. And when they came to a place where the wood was, and James began to gather it, behold, a venomous viper bit him, so that he began to cry and make a noise. The Lord Jesus, seeing him in this condition, came to him and blowed upon the place where the viper had bit him, and it was instantly well. And this figure was James the Less. So, yeah, another story of somebody who met Jesus as a child and then went on to follow him as an adult and become one of the close companions of Jesus. So we're seeing like a pattern starting to form here, that Jesus, he doesn't just meet random individuals later on and they become his followers. Actually, a lot of them have a history with him, and they were good with him as children, and they continue to be good with him, in adulthood.
Wow. Okay, and then let's go to the other one with Bartholomew, right? It says, then his mother said, O Lady Mary, now I am assured that the power of God do dwell in you, so that my son can cure children, so that thy son can cure children who are of the same sort as himself, as soon as they touch his garments. This boy who was thus cured is the same who in the gospel is called Bartholomew.
Yeah, so this is
so he had another encounter with another one, and notice how it says the children who are of the same sort as himself.
That's a very interesting and significant phrase. Yeah. So this woman, she had 2 children, and the first passed away. away, became sick and had a fever and passed away. And then her second child also became sick, and she was scared, and her child was a baby, just an infant. And she sought out Mary because everybody knew that Jesus was a special child who was actually able to heal people by just touching them. So Mary told the woman that you can wrap up your son and place him next to Jesus, you know, and he will be healed. And he was healed, and it is a child who went on to be Bartholomew, who was another one of the apostles or disciples of Jesus. So yeah, I mean, again, it's quite a pattern. And there are other stories in the infancy gospels where Jesus is playing with James and John, the sons of Zebedee. So we find that, I mean, there are just numerous stories of Jesus encountering his disciples in childhood.
But he's having good experiences with them so far, right? So now they're the children of the same sort as he is, right? They're similar as him. Okay, well, there's another there's another interesting story that I think is really interesting, but with this one it's a little bit different, and that is a story that of Jesus meeting Judas as a child as well, right? And that
this
one
is a little bit different.
Yeah, this one is a little bit different for sure.
Yeah, so interestingly, this child who you've identified as being Judas, he actually has a tendency to bite, right? He wants to bite, and it actually says that Satan enters into him and causes him to want to bite. And with Jesus, he had tried to bite him, but he wasn't able to, but he struck him. So we can actually read out the passage. Then Judas, who was possessed, came and sat down at the right hand of Jesus. When Satan was acting upon him as usual, he went about to bite the Lord Jesus. And because he could not do it, he struck Jesus on the right side, so that he cried out. And in the same moment, Satan went out of the boy and ran away like a mad dog. This same boy who struck Jesus and out of whom Satan went in the form of a dog was Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him to the Jews. And that same side on which Judas struck him, the Jews pierced with a spear. So, I mean, very significant, a lot to unpack in this passage. I mean, Judas, he is the one who betrayed Jesus, right? And it was these events that led to the body of Jesus being hung on the cross, and this was the events that led to him being pierced, you know, by the Roman soldier after the events of the crucifixion, the body of Jesus. So we find that it is Judas sort of playing this role as a child, and then he is instrumental in these events unfolding in adulthood. And we also find that the same thing is repeated about him in the canonical Gospels when he's an adult. It's said that in John 13:27, and we also find the same thing in the Gospel of Luke. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, what you're about to do it quickly. So Satan, I mean, he had this propensity as a child for Satan to enter into him, and we find that still exists when he's an adult, and Satan enters into him and causes him to betray Jesus. So yeah, I mean, the parallels are astonishing. Yeah,
but then you also look in the Gospels where Jesus is speaking, about sin, right? And he's saying, whenever an evil person does evil, and then the demon is cast out of him, right? The demon, he roams around, and then he finds no home for himself. So then he takes 7 other more evil ones, and then he goes back to the house that he came from. And the reason for that, according to the gospel, is that person didn't cease to sin, that he was he would go back to the sin that the old way. So he would repent and be good, and then he returns to being evil, and then even like 7 more evil spirits come into him. So we do have this but now we see this sort of, there is a predestination, but also it's also tied to your own personal choices, right? Because even though Judas was a baby, even though he hurt Jesus still made him one of his 12 closest disciples. He made him, he made him leader, master over the house of funds.
Yes, he did.
He was privy to all the knowledge. He was able to do everything and be as close as possible, even though he hurt Jesus, and he, had this this affliction that Satan would go in and out of him, he was still chosen, right? And so this is very interesting. It's like, so is it that you are predestined, but also you're able to change your fate? Is there some sort of is it some sort of free will and predestination that we see here?
I mean, I think that's clear that there is like this mixture at play, and we know from the Goal of the Wise that there's like an exact percentage, right, given by Imam Ahmed al-Hassan. He said that things are 89% written in the stars and 11%, you know, up to change and variability based on the choices, right? Yeah. So everything, the majority of you know, the things that we see played out, it is predestination. It's something that's sort of already written, and it will happen that way. But there is this variability of personal choice and change.
Wow. So you can. So the thing is that what Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, has revealed to us is that you know, whether we are a believer or disbeliever goes back to our original creation. So if you know, if a person has evil clay, right? He always had evil clay, right? But he was mixed with good clay, so he does have like 11% of making better choices and repenting to become you know, whole and become pure, but the majority of the time, you know, usually the evil clay stays as evil and the good clay stays as good, right? So it goes back to the origin of creation, right, of the earth, right?
And the episode Al-Sadiq had mentioned a very interesting narration, right? That the earth and the waters, they were given the opportunity to acknowledge the supremacy of God and the Ahl Bayt, and that some of the earth chose to do so and some of the earth chose not to do so, right? So this is the reason why there is this mixture of light and darkness in the clay, and that like this is why we have, for example, things that taste good and we have things that taste bad, and we have things that look good and we have things that look bad, and we have things that smell good and we have things that smell bad. So there is this, you know, this tangible, you know, experience of goodness and badness in the world, and that like we are all made of this clay, so there is this mixture that's also present within each, you know, individual.
So it looks like even in the beginning, you know, there was such thing as free will. So because they, you know, even in the beginning, before the bodies were formed out of the evil clay and the good clay, there was a choice for them to believe or disbelieve, right? God asked these sweet waters, you know, he created them, and he created the bitter waters and the, you know, the nasty, you know, mud. And then he asked them do you want to, you know, take the you know, Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, do you take the supremacy of God or do you not? And they had initially this choice, and once they made that choice, then the bodies were formed out of it, and then they were mixed in, you know, over time from different marriages between the good clay and the bad clay. And then so in the end, you know, you know, everything is going to go back to its origin, but at least that evil clay, because of the mixture, I feel like, you know, like they had the choice to become good. Like this whole time that they were mixed in, they had the choice to be good. But then in the end, it's going to be that all of the sins that the good clay committed because of this mixture will go back to the evil clay, and all of the good deeds that the good clay have done, that will go back to the good clay, and then everything, there will be true justice established. There will be only pure, and then there will be only evil. So you know, as of right now, you know, we're in the time of the Qa'im, of the Qiyamah, and this is going to be the time when this justice is going to be established, and the evil clay will go back to the evil, and then the good clay will be completed, and all of the sins of the believers of this pure clay will be forgiven. But the evil clay still has this free will and this free choice to purify themselves. So like, even if you are made of the evil clay, like Judas, even Judas, he still, if he had chosen,
chances, right?
Exactly. If he had just chosen to stay with Jesus and not betray him, he would have been purified, and he would have become a pure clay, because of that 11% that could have turned this whole destiny around.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, it just goes to show how incredibly merciful God is, that he gives everybody like the greatest of chances, right? So Judas, he was so close to Jesus, and as you mentioned, I mean, he even had like a high position in the ministry of Jesus. He was in charge of the ministry of funds, or the purse, the money of the ministry, and he could not overcome himself, and he chose to betray Jesus, and in doing so, that's when the devil entered into him, and we see how events unfolded. But yeah, I mean, God is extremely merciful, and everybody, whether they are good or bad, they're given the chance to choose to acknowledge God and the supremacy of God, and the ones who he has given us in order to guide us. So yeah, I mean, I think it's such a beautiful and deep philosophical topic, and I really enjoyed discussing it with you today.
Of course, yes. It is one of my favorite topics for sure. It's very interesting. But now we know that there is such thing as predestination, but also free will. They are both true. It's just in varying degrees. Like the majority of it is predestination, but there is free will, and you can still become a believer if you're a disbeliever, and you can still become a disbeliever if you're a believer. So God bless you all. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope that we gave you a lot to think about, and please check out the video that Al-Sadiq made. You will not regret it. It's really amazing. God bless you all. Peace be upon you.
God bless you. See you tomorrow.